So let me explain how we're doing this. The first thing is that it all comes down to the market and the data. And that's the very first thing. You guys can get a free Land Insights Lite account. That's what I would recommend using. You guys can find that link down below. And so what I would recommend doing is following the same market selection process that you take for direct, the same thing that we've talked about ad nauseam, right? We're going to find markets with the right level of supply, at least 100% sell-through rate in the last year, all of that jazz. Now, where this differs from direct mail is we're actually not concerned about prices, okay? We're not concerned about the Gini index. We're not concerned about homogeneous pricing. That's really only a problem if we have to build out these front-end offers. But with cold calling, we have the luxury of calling any market because we can price these assets in real time. We don't need to do front-end pricing. Once we actually select this market, we're going to move over into the data platform inside of Land Insights. And this gets really, really important. You're going to put in your typical requirements. Hey, I'm looking at the 5 to 10 acres. We want to find owners that have owned for at least 5 years. And the next thing is we're going to toggle seller IQ on. Now, this is one of the most important ingredients to making cold calling work, because what this does is it scores your leads on the front end. So it shows who's likely to sell. It creates a probability, low, medium, high. Now, our data shows that you should only be making these calls to medium and high probability sellers. So we're going to remove the low probability sellers. That'll remove about 15 to 25% of your data. These are sellers that statistically are not likely to sell. And so if you're doing this work yourself, or even if you have a team, why have them call unmotivated prospects? Now, this lead scoring algorithm is a proprietary algorithm to Land Insights that's been back tested by hundreds of deals going back multiple years. And for every single property owner, we're looking at over 100 data points that statistically, these are what tell us if someone's likely to sell. These are trends that show up time and time again. And it doesn't matter if it's a $5,000 property or a $5 million property, these motivation signals are the same across the board. Now, naturally, inside of Land Insights, we're going to use the AI scrubbing. We don't want to be calling to properties that we would never want to buy. Flood zones, wetlands, landlocked road frontage, you get the gist. That will remove about 40 to 50% of our data as well. So you can kind of get the theme here, okay? The theme is quality over quantity. And that relates both to the data that we pull and it relates to how we actually have these conversations with the sellers. You see, what a lot of folks do out there is they'll make a call. They have, a simple script with 5 questions, and they go through the questions, and that's it. And they pass it off, and they try to have an acquisition phone call later. The problem is this is very surface level. Now, the benefit of this approach is that you can make an incredible amount of calls. I mean, you can make so many calls because it's very surface layer. Now, I've tried this approach, and yes, it does work. But what we found to work better, again, is quality over quantity. So if we have high quality data, we've whittled down that data. And what we do is because we're talking to more motivated prospects, we actually go deep on the call with them right then and there. So if we are talking to a qualified prospect, we treat it like it would be a first acquisition call. We're going through a full pre-qualification process where these calls might run 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes in some cases. Because if you have a qualified prospect, you don't want to elongate that sales process. You want to let it play out right then and there. Now, in the case that we actually pre-qualify a seller and we have a meaningful conversation, what we do is we actually underwrite property in real time using the Land Insights comping tool. So you can start to see how Land Insights is the ecosystem that nests this whole process together. Without it, quite literally, this is just not possible because we need the market selection, we need the lead scoring, we need the AI scrubbing, and we need the ability to underwrite these properties in real time. And so when our team is talking to these sellers, we're actually looking at the property, running due diligence, asking questions based off what we're seeing right then and there, and then building out a range offer just like you would through any other channel on that call. Now, in practice, what this looks like is we might get a quarter of the quantity of dials that a typical cold caller would. Right? If you're using a true dialer for making cold calls, maybe you can make 15,000, 20,000 dials a month. That's very typical. With this approach, you're only making a few thousand dials per month, but we're going very deep on the right prospects, having the right conversations. And the amazing thing is what we see here is a 12% conversion from hot lead to contract signed. Now, for a typical marketing channel, that could be as low as 2% or 3% or 4%. And what this says is that we are bringing in the right leads into our CRM, which then shortens our acquisition process. which if you are a one-man army, that's exactly what you want. You want to only talk to the highest quality prospects with the deals that have the most margin, and you want to shorten that sales cycle by building a lot of trust and pre-qualifying on the front end. The beautiful thing is that this model works for someone that's just getting started with a few $100s that can do this themselves. And it could scale up to building a large cold call team of yourself, or it could scale up to building a large cold calling team of your own internally.